Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America. No longer Los Angeles, California, to be pseudo-specific. My name's Brian Engelman. Today is Friday, August 15th, 2025. And this right here is the TNAM Daily Show here on the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. On today's program, we have this guy. This is Ford Fisher with news to share. He is Ford, you have a better way of describing exactly what it is that you do, so I'll let you describe it.
Yeah, it took me like 10 years to come up with the exact words.
But how do you? I'm trying to say like first person,
primary source documentarian.
Say that again.
Primary source documentarian. I produce
source.
Primary source documentary.
There we go. Primary source documentarian Ford Fisher with news to share. We're going to ask him a couple questions because he is on the ground there in Washington D.C. as things are occurring. We want to find out from him what it is. So let's launch today's show. Get your comments in. I think you are all popped in, so I'll just go ahead and put your comments on the side. If you have a question for Ford, pepper us with questions, because he will be with us for the next 10 minutes. So let's jump into the program. Intro goes now.
Guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
So yes, as I've told you, we are working on that intro because we've changed from the Agree to Disagree show to the TNAM Daily Show, but you find our podcast called the Agree to Disagree Show. That's the umbrella that covers the TNAM Daily Show on Spotify and Apple, so please subscribe. Ford Fisher of News to Share. First off, before we even get started, tell people about what you do, where you do it, and where they should follow you for all the most up-to-date action. And I encourage everybody watching to follow this guy.
For sure. So I'll try to be super quick just because we don't have that much time with me here. But so just very quickly, I do basically raw footage coverage, mostly of political activism, but other things that relate to it. So here in Washington, D.C. in the past week, I've kind of been doing my best to document the on-the-ground changes that resulted from President Trump's announcement on Monday of kind of a few different steps. So he said, number one, that he would be federalizing the Metropolitan Police Department, essentially that because DC is not a state, that Trump is entitled under the Home Rule Act to essentially take command of the MPD if he so wishes. As of an hour ago, there has been a lawsuit filed against Trump trying to essentially remove that power. Basically, the city is making the claim you only have the right to use the MPD, not to command them. And so that's the gist of their legal argument. I'm not going to try to
that sounds analyze. That sounds Clintonian. That depends upon what your definition of the word is.
It's a very, very semantic kind of argument that to be honest, I think that what it mostly will come down to is the judge judging it. But you know, people smarter than me on the law can talk about that. But in any event, taking over of the MPD. Number two, the deployment of the DC National Guard. And number three, the deployment of federal agents who would not typically be used for sort of street patrol. This means FBI, ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, DEA. I haven't seen the ATF out there, but I'd be interested in seeing if they're sending the ATF out onto the streets. But in any event, sending all those guys out. And all of this is part of kind of a platform of what he says will try to increase public safety and sort of beautify DC. So what I see that you're pulling up right now is footage that I shot yesterday morning, where Trump basically said, if you're homeless in DC, not anymore. And essentially what he said is that he will eradicate visible homelessness, and that this will mean that police, et cetera, will show up and clear out homeless encampments, and that people will be given the choice of essentially going to treatment centers, going to shelters, or going to jail. And so what you can see, what you have on the screen, had on the screen just a second ago, was I actually visited this shelter. This encampment on Tuesday, and then I also visited it again on Thursday when the clear out occurred. They were notified on Wednesday. Basically, they were given these slips that said, "We're going to be coming and cleaning everything up. We're going to take everything, all this stuff away." And so what happened yesterday morning, and part of what I wanted to go on the show to kind of correct the record about, because I've seen some people use my video and sort of misdescribe one element of this. In particular, I'm referring to Amuse, the Twitter account that goes by Amuse, that has a stormtrooper helmet on it. So when they announce that these clear outs are going to occur, it basically becomes an inevitability, right? Like it says total cleanup, like on that slip. And so if the police show up and nobody complied with it, this would happen by force. Okay. Instead, people show up, volunteers who are assisting the unhoused people in the park there to remove their stuff in a way that sort of does the least damage to them. Okay. So if all of your belongings in the world are inside of a tent and you are told you have one day to get that stuff and get out, it's difficult to sort of take your life's belongings with you. And so volunteers showed up who are not endorsing the fact of the encampment being cleared essentially by force of the state. And the thing to understand is that although this would be more difficult, this would be more intrusive, frankly, potentially violent, right? If the police had to come in and physically do it by force. But that's what would happen if they weren't mostly clearing it out on their own. So what happened on the ground is volunteers are coming and assisting them in actually unpacking or, unassembling their tents and packing them up and disposing of things that are actually trash while trying to get them to be able to keep the stuff that they want to keep. The problem that I have with the way that Amuse wrote this, and I saw other people kind of take this wording or this kind of idea, is there's this perspective that's been propagated that's sort of like, oh, there's DC volunteers who just needed to be enabled by Trump to clear out the homeless. And essentially the implication is that those volunteers are in some way aligned with Trump's prerogative on this. And they were very clear that the opposite is true. They're there to try to facilitate this happening in the most humane way possible. But literally there are carrying signs describing that this shouldn't be happening. So that was, I'm happy to take quick questions. I can go a little bit longer if you want, but that was the gist of kind of the correction that I wanted to make about how that took place.
Okay. I mean, so I guess just making sure that it's being framed the proper way. You thought that how it was written there might have been open to kind of misconstrue. It's like you finally took the shackles off the people and they're ripping this stuff apart and throwing it into garbage bags. It's
right.
Not really like that. It's like, man, these people, hang on, before you guys come, can we help you set this up? Let me get you a bag, put this stuff together. We got to clear this out. We got to see, maybe there's a shelter down here we can take you to, something.
Right. And similarly, so like, whereas Trump was basically saying you accept our form of help or you go to jail, if these people, and I watched this happen, when these people from various nonprofits and volunteers and so forth are showing up, they're trying to facilitate them getting to somewhere that actually does make the most sense to them. And by the way, I would point out also, so when I spoke on Tuesday to a resident of this encampment, he was describing that like some people have dipped. I mean, like some people have like left and just left their stuff there, right? And that does make it fair game. So like in my video, when you see literally like basically like a bulldozer, like just like grabbing stuff. Those were things that were ultimately like unattended for. But he was kind of describing that, you know, if you go to some of these shelters, there are really, really restrictive terms associated with being there. You've got to be back by a certain time. You know, you have to stay until a certain time in the morning, and those rules may be well intended in order to stop them from getting in trouble, stop them from going and consuming drugs or alcohol, this sort of thing. But he was kind of describing that he's like, essentially, I'd be checking myself into jail without calling it jail. And so he was like, I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm not going wherever the government's trying to put me, was basically what was expressed to me.
Yeah, in an ideal world, maybe the government wouldn't have to even be involved in stuff like that. I could imagine that some of these people that are showing up to help break things down so that they can take their belongings with them, I could imagine them also being excited to get their parks back in a safe place. I mean, the homeless situation is a lot of stories at once. It's not just the drug abusers and the addicted. It's not just the mentally ill or the physically ill. There's a criminal element that rocks through these areas, and it's an area that people really want to claim back so they can go with their kids and feel safe. And you're hearing some of that stuff in DC, where shockingly enough, you've seen, what was it, Morning Joe, I think, and somebody on MSNBC, like my intern got their car broken into. Yeah, there were gunshots. Benny Johnson, he's like, yeah, this guy was shot and killed in my front yard. Like, we'd love to have some law and order back in our city. So let me ask you this, Ford. What is the vibe? Let me ask Kenneth's question. What is the vibe there? Kenneth is all about the vibes. He's one of our regulars here on the TNAM Daily Show. What is the extent of the military presence that you've seen, and what are the general vibes?
Sure. To just respond very quickly to the thing that you said before, I'm not a mind reader, and so I can't tell you every thought that goes on in the heads of the particular volunteers that were there. But in terms of what they were proclaiming their position to be, like their reasoning for actually being there and helping and so forth, like those particular people, their position is like, this shouldn't be happening. So I want to just be clear about who they were and what they were doing. I haven't gotten any kind of opportunity to go speak to them about this, but I imagine that they would not appreciate basically people on the internet claiming that they have beliefs that they don't have, which is what Amidst did, and so I just want to be clear about that. But okay, in terms of the rest of the city, though, so 2 nights ago, I basically traveled around the city for like 6 hours looking for National Guardsmen or feds actively patrolling the city. And on that particular night, I couldn't find any of it. The previous night, you and I both know Scootercaster, aka Alia. She managed to get a couple of shots of FBI agents and DEA agents, I believe those were the two agencies, patrolling the streets of Georgetown, which is an extremely wealthy, tourist-friendly kind of community that is very low on crime. Crime in DC is very segmented toward a particular few neighborhoods, mostly in kind of the southeast quadrant of DC. DC has 8 districts. And most crime is concentrated into wards 7 and 8, right? So there seems to be a pretty big difference between kind of the appearance of these troops and feds and the actual sort of places where the stuff is happening. The other example that I would give is of the National Guard. What she captured on Tuesday was there were National Guardsmen who basically were on the National Mall, like near the Lincoln Memorial, where there's, again, practically no violent crime, right? This is a tourist area. And they were there for about 2 hours. They took photos of themselves and then they left, right? And so there's an optics thing, right? Those images are played on the news. And I think that somebody outside of Washington, D.C. might almost be left with the impression that like DC is under a military takeover. I myself yesterday went to Union Station and similarly filmed, 6 Army Humvees and maybe a dozen National Guardsmen essentially just hanging out outside Union Station. And while I'm sure that if a robbery occurred literally right in front of them, that they would probably do something about it, I guess the point that I'm getting at is that it seems to mostly be a game of optics. I think that Trump has even said kind of as much. He's like, I want DC to be a place that people are proud of. It's like an aesthetic thing, right? I want the world to look at Washington, D.C. I don't want them to see homelessness. I want them to see law and order, right? If law and order is
partially it's an aesthetic thing, but he said that the example he keeps using is, he goes, I would go around with my father and he'd say, son, if you go to a restaurant and that front door is dirty, don't go in. The kitchen's going to be dirty. And if he's hosting all these dignitaries and every 8th grader goes on one trip to go see our Capitol, maybe go up to the top of the monument, you shouldn't be stepping over hypodermic needles and piles of human shit. Like, that's just common sense. You wouldn't go into a dirty building and expect a clean meal from the restaurant. So, I mean, it's not just, for show, it's functionality. Nobody's comfortable having to step over tents and sleeping bags of mentally ill people that are either dangerous or destitute. We should have these people in places that could help them, not right in the middle of our cities. So
I'm not going to sort of debate on the merits of the act here, but I would say that the difference between the homeless, the way that the homeless encampments have been dealt with so far, and the presence of the National Guard, is that while there is a lived felt impact of essentially displacing those homeless encampments, right? Like those were there, now they're not there. Like, and that happened by force. Like, that's a meaningful actual shift, for better or for worse. People can debate whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, that is actually doing something. The National Guard, so far, the presence seems to me to look like a photo op, right?
Oh, yeah.
So far, the National Guardsmen, right? It's not the military that's walking around picking, like your examples, picking up needles or pushing out homeless folks, right? The National Guard so far has been placed in highly visible, tourist accessible areas. The thing that's a little bit more of a wild card, and again, I could maybe take some last questions, but I would probably want to end on this. The thing that we haven't addressed as much is Trump's use of federal agents as a domestic policing force in Washington, D.C.
Federal agents in terms of which groups in particular, you're saying?
So Trump has, in addition to this,
and by the way, while you wrap up this point and
yeah.
bounce, because I know you got several things to do. Curious, I was just going to add, curious how this would compare to Los Angeles and what you saw with people coming in.
Sure. Yes.
So
cool.
Go ahead.
So, in addition to his taking over the MPD and deploying the National Guard, the other thing he's done is he's having federal agents do basically foot patrols. And so, to people who wouldn't necessarily be familiar, right, the FBI is a pretty responsive police agency. They're either proactively going out and looking for specific threats based on intelligence, right, knocking on someone's door and being like, were you at January 6th or whatever, right? Or going and arresting the person who walked into the Capitol or whatever, right? But they're not. But the FBI does not have, in general, the same kind of role that the Metropolitan Police Force would, which is walking around and being responsive to 911 calls or crimes which they visibly see on their patrol. So he's putting feds out, and those people are under his direct command, right? Those follow under the executive branch. The thing that's a little bit more of a wild card about it is that although there have been those filmed in that kind, like I said, in Georgetown, in places where essentially there's nothing for them to be doing other than just being seen doing that. 2 nights ago, on that night that I was looking for feds and I just couldn't find anything, there was one report, and then I got there just a hair too late, that feds were doing some kind of a vehicular checkpoint, that essentially they were pulling over every single car that went through a particular intersection. And it's not exactly clear what they were asking people or looking for, but they made one arrest out of that. And I can only imagine what the reason for that was. Was it, they saw either encountered, alleged drunk driving or possession of something that you're not allowed to possess, whatever, right? But there was one example of that. And so it's my intention both tonight and tomorrow night actually to try to see if I can, I want to document in person what the actual feds policing people on the streets looks like. Because I only have one example of that from Wednesday, and I didn't witness it with my own eyes.
And then I guess the people that are being moved out of these parks, do we know where they're going? They're just being absorbed into the private sector. Are there any services being offered? Are there any tiny homes, like just not on the public mall? Just, hey, over here we have some. Any idea
Yeah, the honest answer is I don't know. And part of the reason for that is that, again, Trump laid out these options about essentially if we go and clear you out and you're still there, then we're going to put you somewhere. We're not just going to let you go set up somewhere else.
Yeah, because it's like vagrancy, indecency. Like there's a pile of things that you could actually get charged with.
Most of those people left essentially prior to or in coordination with volunteers, like during that clear out. And so like I didn't witness anybody being walked away in handcuffs, right? Or otherwise involuntarily. And so to be honest, there's not really any way to tell. I will say that if Trump is really expressing this zero tolerance position, and essentially if all of the law enforcement in DC is federalized, and so ultimately they're under the command of his policies, then it stands to reason that what they would be looking for is to go elsewhere. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see it would be interesting to see if there's going to be an influx of visible homelessness in sort of border areas like Bethesda or Arlington, right, in Maryland and Virginia, respectively. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and that's how all of this plays out. We're going to try to follow it down the road. Ford, you're going to keep putting your stuff out there. I have it scrolling at the bottom. Are these the best places to follow you on X? At Ford, FISCHER, and N2S Reports, plural, for news?
Yeah, so those would be the places to follow me on X. It's also News to Share, news, the number 2, share, all one word on YouTube. And news, and the same on Facebook as well, or Meta, or whatever.
All of the things. Any final words, thoughts, concerns, things that you're like just?
I guess I would just say, like, as far as the future of what he's done here, the law prescribes that if he's allowed to do this, which it seems at least from the beginning, right? The mayor literally in her press conference, she read out part of the law, and she was like, and then it says the mayor shall comply, and she was like, so here we are, right? Like.
Now that was a law from the 70s, 71 or 73. Am I remembering that right?
It was 73. Basically, yeah. So I'll try to go really quick on this. DC presumptively is possessed or kind of governed by the federal government. However, at the time of our nation's founding, it wasn't the idea of a capital city wasn't a big residential thing. It was like Capitol Hill, right? And so as DC sort of grew in population and became something like a microstate, there was the Home Rule Act, which essentially said your mayor, your city council can basically govern like a governor, like a state house, right? You can basically govern yourself, but we're delegating that power to you, right? Constitutionally, it's still under the federal government. This is why, for example, the DC National Guard is under the control of the federal government without you don't have to, the mayor can activate them, but you don't have to ask the mayor to activate them, right? Trump didn't need Muriel Bowser's permission to do this, basically. But so because it's delegated, one of those rules that was in it is that if the president wants MPD, the Metropolitan Police Force, to do something, he can basically just snap his fingers and say, I'm in command. And so the distinction that now this lawsuit is trying to, right, the plain language is that he can do that. The distinction that I guess the DC AG is trying to put into a lawsuit is it says that you can sort of tell them to do something, not to take operational control of them in their entirety. I think that this is going to, like, you're going to have two sides in front of a judge. Potato, right? So, I mean, we'll see. But what it does say, though, is that he's only allowed to do that for 30 days without the approval of Congress. So there is
51% of Congress. It's just like the razor thin with the tiebreaker being Vance, or like this is like a.
You know what? That's actually a good question. I would assume
majority.
that it's a simple majority because it's not the passage of a law.
So we have to figure, like, this is sort of uncharted territory, so we all kind of got to brush.
It's never happened before. That's right.
And the accusation being made is, Trump had the ability on January 6th to call in the National Guard, and he chose not to because he was doing an insurrection. And I'm like, so I guess my question on that is, did he get better information now? Better guidance?
I'm not going to open that can of worms.
Did he always have the ability to do it?
You have a big old can of worms, and you've got a can opener, and I'm going to stop you there. Like, keep those worms in the can, Brian.
Well, it just gets me thinking, because we're all thinking. We're all trying to.
We'll talk about it another time. I mean, I do think that there's interesting parallels that can be drawn, and honestly, I think that like the real like legal technicalities of those differences are probably something better left to experts. But I'm certainly not going to try to explore them right now, as I'm 25 minutes into my 10-minute segment. So let's wrap it.
All right. Well, everybody follow him at Ford Fisher and N2S Reports for news to share, as you will be out and about in your stomping grounds of DC as a primary source documentarian, showing you what things look like on the scene. Ford, appreciate you as always. Wear your protective gear. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay safe.
Always
and we'll talk with you again soon.
All right. See you.
Thank you, Ford. All right, everybody. If you're not following him, you need to make sure you're doing that. He begged me for a 10-minute segment. Now, to be fair, I did definitely jump into the show as quick as possible, like a 90-second intro. Definitely did the intro. I could have got done without my intro. But then around 5-10, I mean, like I really was offering off ramps. I was trying to offer off ramps. I want to be respectful of people's time. This is the producer side. It's like, it's tricky. Imagine if you had some people that were all coordinated doing the things instead of one person having to do all of the things. It's fun, but it's challenging. But then at one point he did say, yeah, I have a couple more minutes if you wanted to take a couple questions. And I'm like, all right, there you go. You can leave anytime you want. But yeah. Ford goes where things are happening with news to share, and I hope that you follow him. What is that? They tried that with Rambo, and look how that turned out. Marion Cook saying no one should be able to live on public property, period. Yes, I concur. You know, I'm all for helping these people, but you help them by, number one, moving them from where they cannot be. It's not compassionate to allow this type of stuff. It's not. There should be facilities. There should be tiny homes. There should be mental health. There should be jobs training. There should be we should have facilities that are a little bit less like prison and a little bit more like help. We passed that big, new, beautiful bill. Spend some fucking money on our mental health, right? Maybe a little bit. I'm down for that. So, I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like. It didn't reach that crescendo when he was there. People had already moved and they were helped along, so it didn't come to that, but it will. And they'll be back and then they'll do it again. And it's the broken window theory. You either constantly patrol and you keep an eye on things, or you just let everything slide into what the hell is this? DC equals don't camp. That's kind of funny. Like Leon, I do the same thing with my wife. I snap my fingers. I have 3 broke fingers now. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Well, anyway, go check Ford out. I reached out to him. I said, hey, man. I said, you have a story in my stack for today's news. So why don't you jump on the program and we'll talk about it. So that was cool. Primary source documentarian. He goes where things are happening and we get the reports. All right, let's jump into the news here. How do I stop screen sharing? And how do I share the screen? That was a weird glitchiness. All right, here we go. Let's go side by side. This is what I call a response to the theatrical political nonsense, says April Silverman. Border Patrol showed up outside Gavin Newsom's rally in downtown LA announcing his election rigging response act. Actions speak louder than speech.
People working! Go arrest fucking criminals! What the fuck are you doing? What about this type of work?
Right behind you, brother.
You guys are fucking cowards! All of you are fucking cowards!
Ladies calling these people cowards because they need to arrest criminals, not people working. Is this person in the country legally? Are they in the country illegally working? Are they committing crimes or are they not committing crimes? There's a little context that seems to be left out of this.
Well done, gentlemen. Well done.
Craig. Mr. Bovino from Fox 11. Can I get a quick comment?
Hey, what's going on here?
How you doing? What happened?
We're here making Los Angeles a safer place. Since we won't have politicians that'll do that, we do that
We're making Los Angeles a safer place since the politicians won't do that
ourselves. So that's what we're here today. As you can see, already making it a safer place. We're glad to be here, not going anywhere.
And the governor's inside right there.
I don't know where he's at.
He's about 100 feet behind us. Do you have any comment for him or anything?
Again,
any message?
We're making Los Angeles and California a safer place. We're going to continue to do that, and they can take that one to the bank and cash it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. So that's happening. How does that video make you feel? All right, Miss Muckraker has a few stories for us. Let's buzz through them. I tend to like how they unpack the news. Don't know them, but I should invite Miss Muckraker onto the program, like we invited Ford Fisher of News to Share. Nick Adams showing up a little late today. Nick, you missed it. We had a great interview with Ford Fisher from News to Share. Yeah, check that out and follow him. Primary source, documentarian, live on the ground in D.C. as they clear the homeless encampments. All right, Miss Muckraker says, breaking the Trump admin may take in substantially more than the $300 billion in tariff revenue per Scott Bessent. I mean, is there a chance we could start paying off this debt and get America healthy again financially? I mean, otherwise we're just, you're declaring some sort of chapter, I don't know what you call it, Chapter 1776 bankruptcy. Hit reset. Hey, maybe restore our currency. Okay. All right, Wall Street Ape says we finally have hard proof. Democrats gave $6 billion to a conglomerate of United Nations agencies and over 200 non-governmental organizations, according to Wall Street Apes, to facilitate the illegal immigration invasion of America. They say confirmed it was the United Nations who tried to take down America with the Democrat regime. Mike Howell said, quote, I currently serve as the executive director of the oversight projects and previously was at DHS and on Capitol Hill conducting oversight of immigration matters. The United States of America is still reeling from the worst border invasion in its history. This invasion could not have been accomplished without a colossal partnership with the NGO community. Simply put, the government just did not have the capacity to get this many people in and around the country without the support of the nonprofits. And to that end, they gave them almost $6 billion to that conglomerate of UN agencies and over 200 NGOs to do just that. The Oversight Project has led the way in exposing what I call this border industrial complex. We did the first of its kind study where we tracked illegal aliens by their cell phones as they went through these nonprofits at the border. In just 1 month period in tracking 30,000 devices, so a very small subset of the 10 million that Biden had crossed the border. We found that the illegals went to nearly every single congressional district in the United States. What? Hold on. We found that the illegals went to nearly every single congressional district in the United States. We proved that every town was indeed a border town. Oh, my God. All right, Thomas Massey here says many conservatives are rightfully upset. I prefer this Massey, where we're on the same page. We're focused on the things where we agree. I like this much better. Many conservatives are rightfully upset that Congress has been funding U.S. aid. Every continuing resolution we pass has the funding for U.S. aid within it. In March, I was the only House Republican to vote against the continuing resolution, which contained the funding for U.S. aid. I will also vote against the continuing resolution in September. Why are they doing that? So why are they still funding that? Do we understand that story properly? Wall Street Apes reports $250,000 of the Pacific Palisades fire aid money was given to George Clooney's non-governmental organization. His NGO supports the next generation of gender justice champions in 40 countries? Huh? What? Gender justice champions? Does that have to do with fire aid? Instead of giving the money raised to fire victims whose homes burned down, it was given to celebrities. One of the organizations that received grant money from fire aid to the sum of $250,000, according to Wall Street Apes, was the Clooney Foundation for Justice. This is the nonprofit that George and Amal Clooney founded in 2016, and this is what they do. We wage justice by providing free legal aid in defense of free speech and women's rights in more than 40 countries. We monitor and report on unfair trials, challenge unjust laws in courts, establish legal aid clinics for the most vulnerable, and support the next generation of gender justice champions. Does that sound like Pacific Palisades Fire Aid? What is this quote? One of the major supporters happens to be the Annenberg Foundation. They all know each other. It's like they've just picked nonprofits that are frenzies with each other, and they're like, here, you get money, and you get money, and just say that you're helping in this way or the other way. Jeez. All right, Kellogg's becomes the first company to sign legally binding agreement removing toxic dyes from cereals. Wow. Can we take more steps in this direction, please? Like faster. This is great. Let's keep it going. Bravo. But now, how about all that corn? Does it have to be sprayed with all that stuff? Is there a way we can get the corn without all those chemicals in it? Breaking, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, according to Miss Muckraker, says President Trump is intimidated by the intellectual prowess of blacks like me. We played you that clip on yesterday's show. It's almost too absurd to believe it's true, but we played it. Unless it's AI. I watched this guy say it. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Didn't offer any information, didn't offer any proof, didn't qualify it, didn't justify it. One of the most disgusting things I've read in a very long time. What is this? Secretary Kennedy says 15 minutes outside can change your day and your life. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your body, and restores the connection so many of us have lost to each other, to nature, and to ourselves. Thank you to Dr. Oz for joining me on this hike. All right. Get outside, everybody. TNAM, explore your city. Go on Instagram and type TNAM, explore your city. Check out all of the cool photos that we took in Los Angeles. Just exploring the city. Go for a walk. Find cool things. Miss Muckraker says, breaking, 275,000 plus illegal aliens have been kicked off of Social Security benefits per the President of the United States. But wait a minute. I thought they weren't stealing our money. That should be going to our homeless program for our physically ill and our mentally ill and our chemically ill. I'm sorry. Is that 275,000 people stealing money that should have been spent on our homeless? I want to help our people. Anybody else in the group want to help our homeless? Prioritize that. Democrats have been lying to us, saying that they're not stealing Social Security benefits. Miss Muckraker says, Sanctuary City supporter Representative Delia Ramirez says half of her family is still undocumented. Well, that's the admission of a crime, the public admission of a crime. I'm curious to follow how this plays out. I want the people that are removed from these homeless camps to have some assistance. I want them to be given some cards, some phone cards, ways that they could get back to some treatment centers. Take them there. And if they're going to be charged with vagrancy, all right, well, here's our outpatient program. You could go to jail or you could work with us and we'll try to get you physically well, mentally well, chemically well. Can we help get you on your feet? Can we help get you into a place? Maybe we have some programs to help get you off of the streets. Maybe we could get 100 acres a little further out and put tiny homes up and go, hey, we'll have some common areas out here where people can hang out if they don't want to be inside their place. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but maybe we could reimagine how we're helping these people because they need help and they cannot stay where they are. I don't want to forget about the part where these people need help. But, all these people that's snuck in, it's like, all right, the lights are on. Everyone's asking for the tickets. If you don't have a ticket, go to the CBP Home app and just say, hey, I'm here. I'd like to come back. I'd like to stay here. What can Raise your hand, like, sort it out. You're the one that snuck in the movie theater. Nobody did this to you. And for the children and other people who were trafficked across this border, maybe against their will, sorry that those people did that to you. None of us did. We're just trying to clean up the mess that they made. And what a mess it is. So yeah, we will see. Dr. Odd in Cornhub. There we go. Yeah, I'm very curious about this story. What's going to happen with this lady and her family? She's admitted to a crime. And like, will she be investigated? Very curious. Breaking, Attorney General Pam Bondi will revoke federal funding from California if Governor Gavin Newsom refuses to end his state's sanctuary policies for illegal aliens. There you go. Pressure turned up. Tom Homan, reported by Eric Daughtry, says Tom Homan just announced that DC's illegal alien sanctuary city status has been revoked under President Trump's federalization. Oh, they're going to lose it over this. DC under federal control is not going to be a sanctuary city. We're working with the police hand in hand. And when we encounter a criminal illegal alien, they will be turned over to ICE. Great news. Restore the Capitol. Ms. Muckraker reports Supreme Court rules Mississippi can require age verification and parental consent for social media. You know, I don't know. Hello, Mr. Potato Head. Do I know Mr. Potato Head over there in Rumble? Saying Happy Alaska Day. Yes. President Trump, Vladimir Putin, meeting Putin. Peyton Manning, meeting Putin. In Alaska, President Trump will be meeting with Putin. President Putin. Hey, maybe they can figure something out. It's curious that Zelensky's not participating. It's curious. Are they going to be able to just finally look at him and go, hey, this is the way it's going to be. That's it. Accept the terms. Does anyone not expect him to decline and shoot back with a whole bunch of different terms? I don't know. I'm going into this much like as a Browns fan approaching Shedeur Sanders on the team. I don't know. Whatever people said in the past, that's not my concern. I don't know what of that's true, what's not. I get what I've said. Okay, fine. But you know what? It's a new chapter today. Maybe these two sides are sick of exploding their populations. How about this? Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, Grand Architect of the universe, any power and spirit out there that you may close your eyes and focus upon when you're trying to find guidance or strength or wisdom or courage. How about we negotiate some peace between Russia and Ukraine and stop the senseless slaughter over there for Team Humanity? In your name we pray. Amen. So mote it be. Wouldn't that be cool? If Alaska Day, as Mr. Potato says, Mr. Potato Head says on our Rumble feed, what if Alaska Day gets us some peace? It's interesting. It's happening in Alaska. Very interesting. There you go. Lake Leon. Gotcha. Kind of saying, yeah, DC will no longer be a sanctimonious city either. Well, I don't know about that. I think they're the number one sanctimonious city. But look, this whole thing with Mississippi requiring age verification and parental consent for social media, this whole thing where like you have to prove who you are to use the internet. I don't like the negative. I don't like where you have to. I think what you should be able to do is target somebody's device and say the person at this device cannot use the device for places that have an opt-out, places that have a restriction. I don't want to have to enter my personal information to use the internet. I'm okay keeping kids off of these sites, but like I don't want to have to, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to end up on the other side of this. And I guess that's what people say about the lockdowns in the cities and trying to get a grasp of what's going on. I'm like, look, I don't want to have to do papers, please, but we've been invaded by 30 million people from parts unknown, mostly military-aged men, pre-positioned in every county across the country. We sort of have to figure out what's going on here. Like, we're in an unprecedented act. It's an act of war, what they did. And we don't know what could be coming next. If I were a bad guy, I know how I would have played that situation. And you ain't seen nothing yet if I were a bad guy. So, yeah. But I don't know. I don't like having to opt in to be able to use the internet. If you got a kid and you're going to give them a phone, and you're going to say, look, this device cannot access any. This is an underage until this date. Do not allow this person into these sites. You should be able to do that with your child and your child's device. You shouldn't require all of us to participate in that, I think. What do you think? Miss Muckraker says President Trump could fight crime by banning AR-15s per Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott. No, I'm good. You know, next time 7 people try to carjack me, I'd rather have something that I could defend myself with. All right. Unusual Wales tells us that there are now more home buyers over the age of 70 than under the age of 35 per Fortune. More home buyers over the age of 70 than under the age of 35. That's insane. President Trump just announced 12.4 million names were on the Social Security database over the age of 120. We don't know how many of those have been used for fraud, but I know that that's 12.4 million opportunities for fraud. I want to clean up all of the potentials for fraud. Same day voting, voter ID required. What are we doing with the watermarks? Why are we not labeling and numbering ballots? Are you kidding me? These stories that you can, a bunch of mail-in ballots. We got to stuff these all in. Maybe we'll run it through a few times, and there's no barcodes. There's no watermarks. There's no barcodes or watermarks. There's no numbers. Huh? How would you even know if what you were scanning is legit? Why don't you have a computer system that says, oh, wait a minute. It says this UPC has been scanned already. Push it off to the side. We're not counting this. Hold on. Wait a minute. It happened again. Wait a minute. It happened again. Oh, it looks like somebody photocopied. Like, let's remove all of the opportunities for fraud. Like Leon says, I agree. Breaking, Adam Schiff has been urged to resign immediately following whistleblowers' bombshell allegations that he leaked classified information to the media in an effort to sabotage President Trump, per Fox News. I'd prefer an arrest. That works for me. Hey, did you watch this video? Wild video. South Carolina's Democrat candidate for governor arrested wearing only underwear, cursing, using the N-word, claiming to be both God and Superman. Officers reported that McLeod's eyes were, quote, extremely bloodshot and highly dilated. Wow. Wow. That's a lot going on. Dave Sims here says, hey, here's a category. Something I would never expect to hear in a Texas Rangers game. What's this song? What could this be? A mariachi band playing Black Sabbath's Paranoid. No doubt a tribute to the late Ozzy Osbourne.
With my woman, 'cause she couldn't help me with my mind.
Dude, this is awesome. And by the way, you know, elements of all cultures can be awesome. Also, when you raise your hand, you walk through the front door and we know who you are, you know, I'm a little bit less likely to be suspicious of you. Dumping 30 million people with a ton of bad people mixed within there. Not everyone by any stretch. But yeah, we got to figure out who all the bad people are. This dude covering this song is awesome. I don't know his whole story. But like culture is not one thing. Culture is all of the things together all at once. I think it's so cool.
People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the day.
Yes. I'm going to say we'd like to order more of this content, please, in our algorithm. How the hell do you spell algorithm? There we go. I'd like to order more of this content in our algorithm, please. How cool is this? I'm guessing I won't get a copyright claim on this. I don't know. Like culture is a blend. Yeah, well then why aren't you okay with 30 million military-aged men taking over our country? Yeah, because I want to know who you are and where you came from and what you're doing here, and if you have a criminal background that makes me say, country's full. Oh, you touched a kid? Nah. In fact, we should arrest you right now so you don't harm anybody else and steal their innocence. Yeah, I want to know those things. So, you know, party on, Pedro. Party on, Gareth.
Holding long, I think of things,
Yes.
but nothing seems to satisfy.
I could listen to this all day. I feel like I'm tempting the censorship gods. Check that one out. Just Rangers game, Paranoid, Ozzy, Mariachi Band. Type that in and find the video. It's on our Instagram feed. I love it. I love it. Okay. Informed with Anthony here. This is Anthony Cabasa saying Politico just published a leaked chart showing Gavin Newsom's redistricting plans that basically erase what little Republican representation California has. Take a look at this.
All right, guys, we have another breaking update. Politico has just published a leaked chart of what it would look like showing Gavin Newsom's redistricting plans that basically erase what little Republican representation California already has on the federal level. If this vote passes in November, which is just 82 days away, Republican state legislators say that they will be targeted next. So take a look at this chart. On the left-hand side, if you see that bright red, that means that those are either held or lean Republican. But notice how, especially the first two right here, flip blue. So this is, you're looking at losing 4 or 5 seats or potentially more. And in talking with state legislators, because I have been on phone calls and text messages all day, this is serious stuff. More than AB 495, more than the vaccine schedule, more than homeschooling. This right here, from what I am being told, is that if this passes, they will come after the state legislation next. They're going to redistrict House seats and state Senate seats as well, making them even more blue. And unfortunately, this would mean this is basically the final nail in the coffin for California to Republicans and conservatives, meaning this state will be cemented Democrat/liberal/blue for decades to come with no solution in sight, basically. This is without a doubt the most important election in modern California history, potentially ever, that we have voted on. And so, everyone's talking about this. Everyone is sharing this. We need to be sharing it, and we need to get out on November 4th and vote no on this bill. This is, this is the one, I guess. All right, guys, we have another breaking update. Politico has just published a leaked chart of what...
All right. So, I mean, that's going to be bad news bears for California. I eventually said, I got to get out of this place. Sort of wish I stayed. Sort of knew I absolutely had to go. All right, Greg Reese here says, plan accordingly. Isaac's Army here says, Palantir will have one of these in every small town across America soon. Just to keep you safe. Take a look. It's a docking station for drones, constant surveillance. Does that make you comfortable? I mean, Amazon's going to be doing that for deliveries, right? If you can automate small package delivery, remove the human component. That image was funny. All right, here's Scott Jennings educating a CNN panel.
Well, what about that idea? What about the idea that this is, even if one supports this effort, it's a Band-Aid, right? It's not like...
What's a Band-Aid? Supporting the effort to clean up the dangerousness of DC?
Hiring 500 additional cops in D.C.
And I think they do have a staffing shortage in the D.C. Police Department. They need to fix that. I don't know what's authoritarian about putting some extra eyes and ears on the street, getting criminals off the street to keep people from being murdered and carjacked. Nobody in their right mind believes Washington, D.C. is safe. And to say the president's trying to help us keep people from getting murdered and carjacked and we have to stop this authoritarian push, it's just sort of ridiculous rhetoric. These Democrats don't know what to do with themselves. Every time Donald Trump tries to do something, they reflexively feel the need to oppose it without thinking through the political implications for themselves.
You think Democrats are taking the bait?
Well, I think they're acting like idiots here. The city is crime-ridden. I saw a guy get murdered in Union Station in February at 4 in the afternoon.
Have you ever witnessed that? That's a question of the day. Have you ever watched somebody expire? It's nuts. And it's 5% of the people causing 95% of the problems. Go after the obvious. You go to any area where there's been crime. You just knock and say, hey, I'm leaving my card. Call me, text me privately. Do it now with the door open. Call me later. I don't care. Tell me which building. Tell me which car. Tell me who's standing, what corner, what block, what group. Who are the people that are abusing the people in your community? Who's breaking into the cars? Who's breaking into the homes? Who's robbing people? Who's pistol whipping people? Who's abusing ladies? Who's abusing kids? Like who's the creep? Who's causing all the problems? The people in the communities know. Just ask them. You go get that 5% of the population, and it's really more like 1%. But really, get rid of a couple of the biggest problems, and you're going to see a massive decrease. Then you know what? Next week you go after the next 5 biggest, and it's solved. It doesn't take long.
I saw the body hit the floor at the bottom of the escalator on the 2nd floor. And so everybody who visits there, everybody who lives there knows it's a serious problem. You have extra eyes and ears. They've arrested criminals. They're getting illegal guns off the street. People feel safer. Tourists feel safer. What is the problem?
Margaret? Well, what about that idea?
There you go. I can't figure out what the problem is. All right, when life gives you lemons, here's a TNAM music post. It's the weekend. All right, question of the day, are any of you going to consume or create any music this weekend? Consume or create any music this weekend? What say you? Tell me. These people were stranded on what is this here? Delay after delay after delay, frustrations turned into fun. This is Matterson Sachs, Marcus Anderson. We pulled out our horns and brought smiles bright as the sun. Summer horns turned a flight into a front row concert because when you feel it, you play it. Jazz in the sky. So what? This place was delayed, so they're like, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna play some music." I feel like I'm watching an episode of Cosby. Gotta do the dance. I haven't done a Bill Cosby. You make I'm unlocking a core childhood memory. Like, I don't go back and watch episodes of Cosby. God, that show stopped. When was that? In the 90s. But he would do that face. It's so much worse knowing what his proclivities were. Do you know what I'm talking about? For Bill Cosby, I know I used to do a Bill Cosby impersonation. I don't know. Just start talking about Jello pudding pops. Anyway, this music sounds like the intro music for Cosby or a similar sitcom of the era. Join us. Welcome Jamal Warner and comedian Philip Goss. Because I'm actually flowing. This is the day time on NBC. I mean, right? This sounds like Welcome Back, Kotter. I wonder if I'm going to get a copyright claim for that. A couple of dudes. It's not a couple of dudes. It's a whole rhythm section, but it's a 3-minute clip. Go watch it. Actually, I'm gonna type the same comment. We'd like to order more of this content for our Instagram algorithm, please. Smiley face. You're watching the New American Media. Come on. Your head aches already. Yeah, no, I've been dancing. Imagine how much of a headache I got. Yep, TNAM music. So are you going to consume some music this weekend or what? All right, so here you go.
Okay.
Trump isn't messing around, says Brett Lee. Here's live footage of a homeless encampment being bulldozed during D.C.'s
Yes,
cleanup.
what we're watching right now is
This is on Real America's Voice and Steve Bannon.
I guess a bulldozer or an earth mover
I wonder if this is at the same exact spot where Ford.
or a device that is moving things in Washington, D.C. Okay, you got a little ambient noise right there. The homeless encampments are coming down. President Trump is serious about this. He's going to take the homeless encampments down. He's flooded the zone with troops and also park rangers and others, Border Patrol. Judge Janine actually podcast. What we're watching right now is, I guess, a bulldozer or an earth mover or a device that is.
All right. Well, I thought there was a little bit more to that clip. Yeah, and we said get these people help and clean up the filth. You know, in that order. More together. All right, here's Gavin Newsom triggered, says Kristen Sokolov, because he received a Trump 2028 hat in the mail.
Wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. You will have a president who will be running for a 3rd term. Mark my word. I wasn't exaggerating.
A rigged election, says the Democrat. Wow.
When I said that I received.
It was a blowout, and it was even larger of a margin than that. Watch what happens now that all these fake people don't exist in the Social Security databases. Watch. Watch what happens without your drop boxes. Watch what happens to your Democrat support. You thought you had support? You thought we were a 51-49 nation? No, we are not.
In the mail a Trump 2028 hat from one of his biggest supporters. These guys are not screwing.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting when it's revealed that multiple coup attempts were perpetrated to derail his entire first term, completely documented, orchestrated with Obama, Clinton, the deep state. I don't know. Could a rational person say, you know, you suffered from the political weaponization to the point where multiple impeachment attempts were made to have you removed from office to destroy your term? I don't know. Could reasonable people get together and say, you were deprived of an honest attempt at your first term? So here you go. Wipe that one away because of all the treason and have your actual second term. Here you go. You can argue whether you think that's a bad idea, but you can't argue that it doesn't make at least a little bit of sense. Oh, that's too extreme. Is it too extreme? I don't know that it is too extreme, given the circumstances.
Around. The rules do not apply to him. The most corrupt president in history.
You know, it sounds like he's talking about Joe Biden, but this guy lies about everything because he wants to be the next president.
Doesn't believe in free enterprise.
President Trump doesn't believe in free enterprise. Says the guy who won't let people rebuild their homes in Pacific Palisades, you scum.
Crony capitalism.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Democrats stand for. A rigged system.
He is wrecking this country.
Democrats are indeed wrecking almost everything they touch. Yes, they are.
Wrecking the economy.
Yes, the Democrats wreck the economies that they touch.
It's a lawless president.
The Democrats are completely lawless. Look at Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and their grand conspiracy.
Wake up, America.
Yeah, wake up.
Wake up to what's going on. A moment ago.
I'm going to say Gavin described his deep state Democrat party fairly well in this clip. All right. Oh, here you go. CNN tries to say that slavery is because of white people. Have you ever heard this one? Are you shocked that we're talking about this now? No. Well, since we've been in a decades-long program of vilifying to silence and shame a very specific demographic of people. The white men didn't buy into this stuff, but the white women who are on the liberal side, hook, line, and sinker, have bought into this stuff. It's part of a grander scheme to demoralize one voting base and to fundamentally transform the country on the other side of the policy. So let's watch this play out on CNN.
The Smithsonian, he's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history.
A random person is teaching what's appropriate in American history. No, I think the anti-white hatred, the racist anti-white hatred that's permeated our textbooks and academia for far too long is finally being eradicated as racist, as terrible, like it should have always been. There's a lot of context. Also, there's no point in dwelling on the negative 100% of the time. Yeah, the overarching theme that runs through the Democrat Party, the deep state, the legacy media, academia, from kindergarten through college, it's a deep-seated hatred of America, of white lineage, white history, white people, Christians, men. This has been going on for decades. And so if the Smithsonian is no longer going to allow the complete denigration of a group of people, because usually the Democrats claim to be against that, except if it's white people, they deserve it, I think is what some of these people say. So she's talking about the Smithsonian, and Jillian Michaels off the top rope.
Things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with dear leader and what the MAGA
Can we address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing that was to talk about.
Okay.
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
He's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you
can't tie slavery.
let's talk about the fact
that
slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
do you know who was the first race to try to end slavery?
Well,
what's controversial?
I'm very surprised.
They're not letting her talk because there's simple truth. The term slave is from Slavic because white people were the slaves that literally have the name slave in them. Slavic, Slav, slave. Still slavery in parts of the globe today. Not in America.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
What did he say? Historical revisionism. It's astonishing that people think they understand things that they just don't.
Let's talk about racism. Do you realize that
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and
I'm
who
not.
was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is
in
that
the context of American history.
Okay.
In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by
saying
that it was white people oppressing black people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth. Like, for example, every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of caste. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. Do you know that when you walk in the front door,
what exactly,
the first thing you see is a gay flag?
Jillian, you have a lot of stuff in front of you.
Yeah, I do,
What
because I don't,
exactly
because here's the thing.
are you talking about?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
There's one called Change Your Game, right? This has been an installation there. Is gender testing fair in sports? Does that, and then it goes on to talk about how it's complex.
Is gender testing fair in sports? That's the whole reason you have the sexes separated.
To do gender testing in sports. It's not complex. It's basic science. That's untrue. It's XX chromosome, XY chromosome. That's sports. Is it fair to have biological men competing against biological women in sports? No. But why is this in the Smithsonian?
That has no bit exactly.
So it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't.
And it's totally partisan.
We don't. First of all, we don't have.
And it's incredibly divisive and incorrect.
Time to litigate
of
all of this.
Of course we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument. If everything is racialized, just like you're trying to do to me now.
Excuse me.
It's like, I can't believe you're trying to suggest, that slavery
just to be
is a good
clear,
thing.
You brought up race.
No,
this was a conversation about the arts, and you brought up race.
It isn't.
You brought up.
But the whole point of this is that the issue
you brought up slavery, and you brought up the question of whether. You brought up the question of whether or not slavery in the United States is about race. The answer is
no, I
yes.
Didn't. I did not
in the United States
don't
is
straw man my
about
argument
race.
Because that's not what I said.
So what are you
brought
talking
up
about?
Slavery, and what I was talking about is that this isn't really about that. When you make every single exhibit about white imperialism when it isn't relevant at all, that is a problem. So when you're talking,
she can't understand that demonizing white people could eventually jump the shark. Yeah. Everybody's sick and tired of you framing everything a certain way where, you know what? I'm kind of getting tired of being painted as the bad guy. I didn't do anything bad. But the racial Marxists, this is the core of destroying this country, destroying the history of this country, destroying the legitimacy of this country. It's all part of a demoralizing campaign. And yeah, Jillian Michaels is right. That other lady brought up the slave thing. She's like, what? Who was capturing all the people? Who was kidnapping all the people in Africa to sell them in the first place? It wasn't Puritans from England. God, it's just, I hope and pray that we're emerging from the stupidity of the nonstop divisive racial Democrat attacks to constantly rile people up. Racial arson is what they engage in every time they open their mouths, it seems, over the past several decades.
About Cubans leaving Cuba and you make it about white people bad, that's not accurate.
Can I just say, zooming
that's
out,
my point.
All right, we're going to move on.
I was saying on the arts thing, I think why this is
on into the Smithsonian.
Anyway. There, I will. Bravo at Jillian Michaels. Will you join our TNAM Daily Show to discuss this topic further? There, I invited Jillian Michaels on the show. She's been impressing me for a while. I appreciate her voice. You look across, Unbreakable Liberty here is asking, are these all DEI hires? It's unfair. I'm going to say this, and I mean it. It's unfair to think that if there's a woman in a position that they wouldn't traditionally be in, what do you mean traditionally? You know what I mean traditionally. Women are not typically in the violent life and death jobs, such as police officer. What DEI has done is made most people who are aware of what happens in a DEI program question whether the people actually deserve it. Didn't earn it. So Unbreakable Liberty here puts this out. And let me ask you if you agree or disagree with the assertions I'm about to read you. America's most dangerous cities are being run into the ground by DEI-installed female police chiefs. Some of America's most violent cities are under the leadership of female police chiefs whose appointments are tied not to merit, but to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, DEI. In these cases, gender and political optics have trumped qualifications, so is the claim, and the crime statistics under their watch speak volumes. So here you go. Pamela A. Smith, Washington, D.C. Under her, is that the one that said, what does chain of command mean? She was asked at a press conference, like, can you explain the chain of command? She goes, what is that? I'm sorry, what do you mean? You don't know what the chain of command is? Maybe I misunderstood her answer, but it seemed pretty obvious to me that she didn't know the most basic thing she would need to know about chain of command. Maybe I misinterpreted. Paula Smith, Washington. Under her leadership, D.C. continues to be one of the most dangerous cities in America. CDC data says highest per capita murder rate in the entire country. So far in 25, they have 1,600 violent crimes and 16,000 total crimes. Ann Kirkpatrick, New Orleans, Louisiana. City's violent crime rate is 1361 per 100,000, staggering 148% higher than Louisiana state average. By mid-25, murder count stands at 80. Here's Teresa Thietge, Cincinnati. Crime rate now exceeds 4,000 incidents per 100,000 residents, far above national average. Robberies in certain districts up 46%, and downtown incidents up 31% in 25 alone. C.J. Davis, Memphis, Tennessee, ranks among the deadliest U.S. cities with violent crime rate contributing to Tennessee's fourth highest state rate of 672 per 100,000. So do you agree or disagree that these people are mainly being installed in these big blue cities through DEI initiatives, not through merit, but for optics, and they're incompetent and incapable of keeping their community safe? Agree or disagree? Type it in the comments. Curious what you think. Here's a dude talking about DC.
Man, everybody in DC, man, listen,
I don't know this guy, but Kristen Sokoloff is sharing this video.
I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but check this out. Man, they got the National Guards, they got DEA, the FBI, Park Police, Capitol Police, DC Police, all working together. Trump got these niggas on a mission. So what I'm saying to y'all is now ain't the time in my city, in DC. I don't know about nobody else. He ain't do that nowhere else. But it's a state of emergency in my city. So all I'm saying to you is now.
He said, now ain't the time. Yeah, but you should never be abusing the people of your community. There's never a good time to do that.
Now ain't the time to be riding around with guns and drinking and smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? Now ain't the time, bro. This ain't these next 30 days is gonna show a lot of shit for niggas, man. And that's because it's like this because the youngest keep tipping, bro. We can't go nowhere without them niggas. We can't go nowhere without them niggas fucking it up. 9 or 10 of them, they robbing motherfuckers, shooting motherfuckers. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do know what you're saying, man. The idiots are messing it up for everybody. Nobody wants to get harassed. Well, you know what? We wouldn't have to skim through the beach for the broken glass bottle if you didn't bring the broken glass bottle to the beach. But it's busted. That's what we're trying to filter out. That's what we're trying to figure out. You got to scrape through all of that, drag the beach, and you got to drag the country for 30 million illegal alien invaders. No, they're not all bad. They're not all pieces of glass. But we know there's broken glass in there. We know that a lot of Americans have been harmed and their lives have been terminated from people that snuck into this country, who've already been deported, who had no business being here, with gang ties, cartel ties, military ties. You can't allow a couple of idiots to organize something and get a couple more idiots to ruin the place. You can't allow it. These flash mobs and these attacks. You did this to yourselves. You brought this on yourselves, and people are sick of it. We're all sick of it. None of us want to get shot walking our dog. None of us want to get carjacked and shot filming a video in a drive-thru. Like, what are we talking about? Go get those monsters and throw them into cages. You lose your free-range privileges if you're acting that way. No, I don't want a police state, but I definitely don't want a narco state. I don't want a gang state. I don't want a crime state at all. No, thank you.
Motherfuckers get tired of that shit, man. They get tired of that shit, bro.
Yeah, we're all tired of the recklessness and the wanton criminality. Got so tired of it in Los Angeles.
There's no points in it for that, man. Now this is where we come to a state of emergency. You hear me? D.C. is under emergency. The Metropolitan Police Department has lost its fucking custody for 30 days. Now Trump about to get in here and start.
And by the way, they earned it because they're not doing the basic job. Get the worst of the worst into a cage immediately. And they're undercharging people. And it's not just about the worst of the worst. It's also about the people doing all the really bad stuff. And you keep undercharging, so you don't keep them in a cage. So now their one crime turns into 100 crimes. Keep them in jail. You don't have any of those additional crimes. Yeah, they've earned this timeout.
Roughing shit off, man. They already started. They done came through the yo 2 or 3 times already. They done pushed up on my man yesterday, wasn't doing nothing. Pushed up on them. They is not playing out here, man. So if you want to get a football number now, keep doing that dumb shit. Keep doing the shit that y'all doing, bro. Y'all making it. Come on, bro. We got to do better, man.
Yeah, but we need to do better always. And we need to be speaking this stuff. And we all need to be working with our locals to stop it from happening in the first place. You keep turning a blind eye. Like, oh, that's just Jimmy down the block. I don't like the police coming around. Yeah, no, you don't like people shooting cars up in your community. Get them out of there, because they're a magnet for other problems, and they prey upon all the good people around them.
And I'm not just saying it's for the YNs, bro. It's for niggas my age too. Listen, if you got certain motions, man, now with the curtail that shit a little bit, man, because if they catch you,
but always should be the time to curtail that.
They fucking you over, and ain't nothing nobody else can do about it.
Oh, they're not. I don't know if they're effing you over. I think you're getting what you deserve.
I'm just being real, man. Y'all niggas, man, stay up. Pay attention, man. Shit going on right now. Man,
he's warning everyone to be on their best behavior, which is good. I just want him to do that the whole time, right? All right, here's Charlie Kirk absolutely dominating his debate at Oxford. It's a little long, but worth every second. Go watch that if you feel so inclined. This was Joe Scarborough. I referenced this with Ford Fisher at the top of the program. MSNBC's Joe Scarborough just admitted so many Democrats are privately celebrating President Trump ending D.C. crime while publicly attacking him. These are all Democrats who said our friends won't walk more than 3 blocks in D.C. If Democrats didn't have double standards, they've had none at all, says Danielle D'Souza Gill. Mayor Karen Bass has thoughts on Trump sending feds to the Newsom event.
Complete provocation. This has nothing to do with safety.
A complete provocation that has nothing to do with safety. See, she thinks that allowing millions of unchecked people with unknown intentions into the country has nothing to do with safety. We disagree fundamentally.
In fact, this is the exact opposite.
No, that's not the opposite of keeping your city safe. It's actually what making your city safe looks like.
Of keeping our city safe. We do not need them here, and they had no business to come here and
I think the business is that you're allowing the illegal aliens to stay.
vote this.
Mayor Bass, you're live on NBC4 right now. You do not believe that this just happened to be a coincidence?
There is no way this was a coincidence. This was widely publicized that the governor and many of our other elected officials were having a press conference here to talk about redistricting, and they decided they were going to come and thumb their nose in front of the governor's face. Why would you
thumb a nose? You're allowing illegal aliens to thumb a nose at America. You're saying it's totally fine to break our laws and sneak in here, and God knows what you intend to do once you are here.
you do that? That is unbelievably disrespectful.
I think what's disrespectful is being a sanctuary city and not sifting through the people to find out which are the criminal elements that need to be removed immediately. You don't just let anybody into your home, and you don't just let anybody into your city or your country.
A provocative act. They're talking about...
No. Man, I can't let her... Everything she says is backward. Sanctuary cities are backward. That's the provocative act.
Disorder in Los Angeles, and they are the source of the disorder in Los Angeles.
No, the source is your lawlessness.
Right now, this is just completely unacceptable. This is a administration, this is a Customs and Border Patrol that has gone amok. This
amok
absolutely has to stop. There was no danger here. There was no need.
She claims there's no danger in LA
to detain anyone here, and there was certainly no need to have a provocative act right here where the governor is having a press conference. He did this intentionally to disrespect the governor, to disrespect this iconic museum, and to
Trump's disrespecting a museum now.
Disrespect our state. Now,
you're disrespecting yourself by having no standards. You don't just spread your legs and let anybody go inside of you. You don't spread your city and let anybody go inside of you. Sorry, was that a little too graphic? You're supposed to have some standards. There's plenty of people with known criminal histories you need to filter out. And you're intentionally making things more dangerous for the residents of your city, playing politics.
Why is this helpful to anybody at all?
Because you're catching people who are committing crimes.
At this point, this doesn't have anything to do with immigration at all.
Mayor, it's literally the point of immigration.
This is about causing trouble in our city. And you tell me that there was a cause. We have had 2 successful court orders. The court orders imposed a temporary restraining order. You want to talk about law and order? What you saw here was the Customs and Border Patrol violating law and order. The court decision said this was not supposed to happen. It was not supposed to happen based on somebody's physical appearance, based on the language that they speak, or the type of work that they do. Complete provocation.
There's Karen Bass, completely out of her element. Here's an update from RFK Jr.
First of all, what
our H&H guy, HHS guy.
Expert says is not science, and we have to get away from that. We were told during COVID, trust the experts.
We were told to trust the experts, but trusting the experts is not a feature of either science or democracy. It's a feature of totalitarianism and of religion. Experts pushing mRNA vaccines for COVID aren't reading the science on injuries from those vaccines. What experts say is not always science. There you go. There's Bobby Kennedy. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, Senator Lindsey Graham confidently says the quiet part out loud. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could. They have the capacity to do that. That is quite a statement and is an acknowledgement that nuclear-armed Israel is more than capable of defending themselves, by themselves, and not only defeating their enemies, but completely wiping them out. So why is America funding them and fighting for them? We should not be, says Rep. MTG. And it is not a matter of supporting either Israel or Hamas, as he suggests, which is ridiculous. It's about supporting America. Lindsey Graham has no children. Oh, wonder why. I have 3 adult children, 22, 25, 27, which gives me a fierce invested interest to be all in to save America. And we are now a nation in $37 trillion debt because of the nonstop votes and funding for foreign countries and foreign wars and bloated budgets and pork and waste for over 30 years, which is how long Lindsey Graham has been serving in Washington, D.C. and the gross negligent consequences of America's last decisions by most politicians in Washington, D.C. has not only chained all of us and our future generations in debt, but eroded the value of our dollar, driven out of control in inflation, making life completely unaffordable, and is destroying the middle class and turning my children's generation into the working poor, which pisses me off. The sirens should be blaring in Washington, D.C. with all hands on deck panic mentality that every single elected member of Congress and senator should be working as hard as possible to prevent our inevitable demise. But instead, even after the America First mandate was delivered in the election of 24, tone-deaf politicians in the swamp still slither up to podiums to deliver speeches that sound like the same Bush-era propaganda that has led to 22 veteran suicides a day, every day, from devastating PTSD brought home from pointless foreign wars. I'm also completely amazed that Israel and their aligned groups like AIPAC, who is breaking the law by not registering under FARA, takes members of Congress and conservative social media influencers like TPUSA on all expenses paid trips to Israel and welcomes a steady stream of conservative media outlets in order to keep the funding stream going. Can you imagine if Russia did this? All hell broke loose when Tucker Carlson dared to show clean subways and well-stocked grocery stores in Moscow. We can support our allies, but our elected officials should not be funded or going on funded trips for the interest of foreign countries. And God will not pull the plug on us if we stop funding the secular government of Israel. This is 1,000% false and the fear-mongering tactic used on good-hearted American Christians to force us to fund and fight the secular government of nuclear-armed Israel's wars. We don't believe we go to heaven based on how much money we blindly give and how many bombs we drop on the secular government of Israel's enemies. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 14:6. Jesus was extremely clear about how we should treat others, especially children. Funding and blindly supporting an ally who is starving children is not going to bring God's favor on America. As a matter of fact, I'll argue it will instead bring God's wrath. And I've seen it debated whether that's happening or not happening. If it's happening, if Hamas is responsible for stealing the food, it's a war, and everybody's trying to look as supportable as possible. It's hard to tell one way or another. Both sides will paint it so that they look favorable. That's what war does. That's what war will always have. Marjorie Taylor Greene continues, America's intervention should be to stop the war and work for peace and demand the release of the poor October 7th hostages while equally demanding to stop the genocide and humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Lastly, Americans' hard-earned tax dollars should go to America only. If we are going to pull the plug on anything, we should pull the damn plug on funding foreign wars in foreign countries.
Israel is in a fight for their lives. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people who would kill them all if they could. I am tired of the word genocide. Let me tell you about genocide. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could. They have the capability to do that. They choose not to. Hamas, they would commit genocide in 30 seconds. They just can't. And that's the big difference, folks. To people in my party, I'm tired of this crap. Israel is our friend. They're the most reliable friend we have in the Mideast. They're a democracy, surrounded by people who would cut their throats if they could. This is not a hard choice if you're an American. It's not a hard choice if you're a Christian. A word of warning. But tonight, it's late at night.
There you go. That was the end of that clip. So there's my question. Do you agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, or do you agree with Lindsey Graham? Where do you agree? All right, here is Scott Jennings again, torching Gavin Newsom's entire speech in just one sentence.
Woman on the let me summarize. Let me summarize Gavin Newsom's speech today. Gerrymandering is evil. Please vote for my gerrymandering. Of course, he failed to mention that it's already gerrymandered. Republicans get 40% of the vote in California. They have 17% of the congressional seats under a supposed independent redistricting commission. So we're going to further gerrymander the gerrymandering.
By that standard, Scott, Texas is also gerrymandered. So
you want to keep
that's
How about Illinois?
But here's the issue. I would readily concede it. On a regular census, the legislature there gerrymandered Illinois. That's
woman on the panel.
let me summarize. Let me summarize Gavin Newsom's speech today. Gerrymandering is evil. Please vote for my gerrymandering. Of course, he failed to mention that it's already gerrymandered. Republicans get 40% of the vote in California. They have 17% of the congressional seats under.
Yep, under a completely gerrymandered system. Rules for thee, but not for me. The whole gerrymandering thing is very interesting, and it's good that we're bringing it to light. Real State of America reports a trans cult member, Teresa Youngblood, indicted for the M of U.S. Border Patrol agent David Maland in Vermont. The DOJ is seeking the death penalty. Maland was conducting a traffic stop when Youngblood exited the vehicle and without warning opened fire, K-ing Maland in cold blood. Rest in peace. Democrats have turned crime into a, it really is. It's an 80-20 issue. How in the world could you be in favor of the Democrats at this point?
I tell you, I cannot stop laughing about this. Like, why the Democrats...
This is Batya Unger Sargon.
...would want safe streets to be branded as a right-wing concern is like totally beyond me. It's kind of like when that whole campaign against Sydney Sweeney happened. Do they really want like liking hot people to be considered like a right-wing thing? It's so bizarre, and nobody is doing this to them. No one is forcing the Democrats to fight ICE and side with illegal criminals. No one is forcing them to side with the criminals in D.C. They are doing it to themselves. They are lining up to congratulate Mamdani, who wants New York City to look like D.C. prior to Trump coming in. And it's just so mystifying. Of course they're going to pay a price for this, because as Fox News has been on this all week, the residents of D.C. love this. They are longing for this. Who doesn't want their child to have a safe street to walk down?
For real. Oh, here it is. Here's Delia Ramirez saying half her family's illegal.
I mean, for us members of Congress, for me, who is a daughter of immigrants, who half my family is still undocumented. I mean, for us members.
So what does chapter 2 look like with this story? She just admitted to criminal activity. Can I spell activity? Activity. Very curious how this story resolves. President Trump talking about Russiagate, the grand conspiracy.
You, sir, what does real accountability look like for the players?
It's incredible what we're finding. Absolute proof of guilt. And we'll see what happens. But Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals, they're criminals. And they made it very tough. You know, they did the fake Russia witch hunt that lasted for 2 years. And I got totally exonerated. There was no doubt about it. They should have done it in 1 day, not 2 years. But it was a whole scheme to try and demean Trump so that I couldn't win an election.
And it was really to steal his whole first term from him.
That is a criminal group of people. They're sick people.
In your view, sir.
There you go.
Code, I think I'm done with ICE.
ICE has Ford Raptors riding around D.C. with Defend the Homeland and President Donald J. Trump in gold lettering. This goes so hard. Can't play the song. This is the footage. Ford Raptors, ICE. President Trump, gold letters. There's music. Anyway. 100,000 people have applied to join ICE. DC Drano says Democrats. Gotta change the screen there. Democrats didn't improve schools in their cities. They lowered graduation standards. Democrats didn't decrease crime. They stopped arresting criminals. Democrats didn't secure our border. They stopped detaining illegals. Democrats didn't fix the economy. They lied about job numbers. Starting to notice a pattern here? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Actually, perfectly stated. This really does sum up Democrats in a nutshell. Is this the halfway post? Breaking. Several gay dating apps are reportedly threatening that if the Supreme Court bans gay marriage, they will reveal all the closeted Republican officials and members of Congress who have accounts on their platforms. Here walks up the mega Chad to the NPC and says, "Your terms are acceptable." You know, it's not the flex they think it is. What was that in the comments? David says, Lindsey Graham just loves war. Yeah, he does. He does. Karen Bass, why are you not out on your... Well, you know. Scott Jennings again.
Well, if you watched any cable news over the last several days,
a little bit,
you no doubt heard an anchor or another anchor or another anchor or another pundit or another commentator, one after the other, claiming that Washington, D.C.'s crime stats are at a 30-year low.
Crazy.
All in their quest to discredit President Trump's move to bolster the police in our nation's capital. Well, it turns out, and most thinking people knew this already, the stats were fake. Now we have the receipts. The news site Washington Free Beacon, which I cannot recommend highly enough, dropped a blockbuster story this morning proving that the Washington Police Department intentionally falsified the crime statistics. According to internal records and communications reviewed by reporter Elena Goodman, police leaders repeatedly told officers to downgrade theft cases, knife attacks, and violent assaults to lesser offenses. See how that works? A whistleblower in the department filed a lawsuit and described the scheme this way. She was instructed to downgrade a number of felonies to misdemeanors so that there would be fewer felonies in the statistics. She also provided records showing that police leaders explicitly instructed their subordinates to underclassify certain instances of theft to keep them out of the crime stats the city reports to the public. Folks, we have entered an era of unrepentant propaganda, brought to you by the people who are supposed to give you the real stats, the real news, tell you the real truth. No wonder trust in media has cratered to all-time lows. Washington, D.C. is not a safe place. Anyone who lives there or visits often knows it. But because Donald Trump decided to do something about it, the propaganda machine whirred to life to discredit his decision. And Democrats and his opponents in the media have chosen again to die on the wrong side of another 80-20 hill, although 20 may be generous. Now let's listen to CNN's data guru, Harry Enton, this morning, going over the latest crime polling.
I think this sort of gives the game away here because Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst issues.
I don't know. I think Harry Enton, I think he's low-key a Republican. I mean, at least he sees it and calls it out, at least accurately. Nobody liked anything about Biden. Biden was, how many people say installed? Biden and Harris were the two least popular people in the Democrat primaries in 2020. So, of course, they teamed those two up.
And again, look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden's. And again, I think it gets back to the point that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than a lot of Democrats want to admit.
Well, would you look at that? Let's see who on your television today has the guts to admit their mistakes. I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
There you go. Scott Jennings, follow him. Look at this meme. It's Leo. The Brits gave up their guns, and now their government puts them in jail for Facebook posts. Yep. 300 guns is a good account to follow. Acting like Jefferson. Man, Reed Timmer. What is this?
This is extreme meteorologist Reed Timmer.
Extreme meteorologist. Look at this. The southwest monsoon pattern monitored closely over the next week or two. Some decent moisture could flow up over the desert. Look at this. I don't know. Desert flash flood mode activated.
Ahead of a flash flood that is coming down the canyon here. Gonna pop up.
I mean, that's like sandpaper over the roof.
Oh, wow.
Look at how fast that's going.
Wow. Big time flash flood here.
All
big
branches
time.
And trees and limbs and weird stuff. Fires. You ever been caught in something like this?
Climbing up.
I would not want to get very close.
Oh, wow.
Because it's scraping the edge away. Like you could rip a whole area off. That's not just water. It's.
Oh. Woo! There it is, folks. Big plug.
Look at that.
Big
That's
plug
like how
on
you
it.
clean a drain.
Oh my God! Oh, a huge log!
And it's just wrecking everything in its path.
Oh, there's one of the tires!
Don't underestimate Mother Nature.
Closer to the edge. Time to get out. Time to retreat. Oh, huge tire! Huge tire just surfaced! Big tractor tire there in the flood. No! Big tire! I'm standing next to a dangerous flash flood off the Pine Gulch Fire Burn Star. Tree just went down! Just lost the whole tree! Tree has just gone down here with this. Dead tree in the middle of the Gulch, but this thing continues to rise. You can see the dark coloring of this flood water continues to go up. It got hung up at a few locations upstream. This is right off the Pine Gulch Fire Burn Scar. Big time rain fell just over the heart of the scar. 2, 3, 4 inches of rain indicated by radar. Likely inflated a bit by hail as well, but you can see an absolutely dangerous debris flow heading down the creek here, well north of Grand Junction. Big stationary waves as that tree just got taken out.
I mean, just that part. Like, that's just, you can't even fathom. Getting stuck in something like that. Just what a mess. I thought that was one of the most interesting. Lake Leon, quit screaming, dude. I know you could imagine that'd be super loud where they were at. All right, but I'll make sure I'm not screaming. George Papadopoulos says breaking federal grand jury deliberations have begun against Obama officials involved in Russiagate. Comment, I can't wait for nothing to happen. Okay, I'll be more positive. Say, it's go time button. It's go time. President Trump talking about energy costs.
as everybody knows, and energy.
New Jersey specifically.
Prices have been going down, other than in certain states where you have Democrat-run states where they put windmills all over the place. Anytime you see a windmill, you'll say, well, they have bad energy costs, and it's happening in New Jersey. I saw that there's a revolution going on in New Jersey. They closed up a nuclear power plant, and they're raising electricity rates by 21, 22, and 28%, something like that. And you're going to have a new governor in New Jersey. I'll tell you what, you have a good man running in the Republican Party. He'll get them down. But what they've done is they've killed so many good sources of energy for very expensive windmills and lots of other things that don't work. As everybody knows, and energy prices have.
So they're trying to get energy costs down, and it's proving to be tricky. You know, I checked my local energy cost. And you know what? How many of you are aware of this? Like, I know you know, but like, you can, I don't know how much more. Maybe it's double, maybe it's 50% more, but if you can run big appliances before 7 a.m. or after 7 a.m., it's much, much cheaper. I don't know how every region has their own electrical whatnot, but go on Grok, go on AI and say, hey, wherever I'm at locally, are there different prices for energy on different times of the day? And just consider maybe running your dishwasher early in the morning or late at night. Do your laundry early in the morning or late at night. Keep your AC like rocking in the early morning hours, and then as it starts to get into the day, maybe turn it back up a little bit and let it kind of move based on what you built up. I don't know. I think there's smarter ways to use energy on top of it. Are you aware of that? Do you do that? I've been more consciously aware now than I ever have been, trying to keep an eye on energy costs that way. Anyway, here's Senator Kennedy going savage about Hakeem Jeffries. Talking about Hakeem Jeffries and Chucky Schumer.
Need to go to Amazon, buy some testicles, and stand up to the loon wing of their party. And Hakeem need to go to Amazon, buy some testicles, and stand up to the loon wing of their party.
What should I put for a comment? Big Mike has entered the chat? No, that would be mean. That would be, no, I'm not going to make a joke about that. All right, what is this? Pastor Jack Hibbs says this is the most sick legislation ever proposed. AB 495 could let strangers take kids from schools without ID, without a background check or parental notice, calling it open season on California's children. What? It's a 4-minute clip, so go check that one out and check out that legislation. AB, what I just said. I had this.
This is something that some DA or some attorney.
We're kind of getting into big tech and AI and
general of a state, and it's got to, or Pam Bondi or Cash. This is, look, you're talking about the top engineers at one of the biggest companies in the world. They think this is appropriate, and they program in the artificial intelligence these bots with these prompts, and that's appropriate. Parents should be freaked out about this. The whole thing should be shut down immediately. You can't trust these people. It's in a standards and protocol 200-page report. This is what's so stunning about it. I tell you what, Joe, hang on for a second. I want to hold you through the break. This is what we've been warning about. They can't be unsupervised. You cannot just let these people supervise themselves. They can't govern themselves. They can't. If you do that, they're all pushing to everybody have a little friend, a bot, a personal assistant.
And you've seen from the Roblox thing just how many kids are being preyed upon in these scenarios. Trying to normalize like this talking to strangers thing. Oh, well, it's AI. It's not a stranger. You have no idea what's inside of that code. You have no idea what they would say. and when they step out.
This is what they're pushing the biggest right now. And look at what the prompts can do. Look at they have access to your kids, to the children of America or the children of the world. They're not worthy of that. You cannot trust them. This is not Steve Bannon or Joe Allen getting righteous. This comes out of a Reuters report by Hurwitz about, and by the way, the fate of the old guy. Let's say he didn't make it back home. He's dead. He fell in love with a chatbot and kind of walked away from his family. He was a guy that had either dementia or the beginnings of it. But I got to tell you, he was going to go meet that chatbot. This is.
Yeah, that was a strange story as well. He sort of alluded to it. We'll maybe cover
Here's
that
what I
another time.
Learned, Sean, when I ran the Russiagate investigation.
Kash Patel talking about the Russiagate investigation, now FBI director.
As bad as the crime is, the corruption cover-up from senior government officials who are sworn to uphold their duties and accountability for the American public, they are the ones that violated that trust the most internally and need to be held accountable. So the people you've listed and the names you're calling out aren't surprises. Their names are on those documents. Those documents are public. The FISA's public. The 302s are public. The Strzok page texts are public. Documents are being released weekly by Johnny Ratcliffe and Tulsi, making it public. The burn bag information is coming out. The Durham Annex is coming out. The classified appendix is coming out. The American people are going to see and hear the names themselves, and they can touch and feel it. As far as what my investigators are going to do, these guys are the best in the business, and we've assembled a team of accountability, and we're going to deliver for the American people like never before, because that's what the American people elected Donald Trump to do. Here's what I learned, Sean, when I ran the...
All right. Kash Patel, everybody. Now, here's a huge claim.
He also said that
Ryan Matta Films. They're saying True News Daily put this out. Wearing a MAGA hat, it looks like. Jeffrey Epstein victim claims to have seen Epstein at her workplace after his S and insists that he's still alive. So, what say you?
Epstein was still alive, which I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, so I don't know about posting this part on here.
I think you're right on that. I know you're right on that.
Well, so the thing is, in a very expected way, looking at them from this perspective now, Jeff came through one of my jobs and had a very explicit license plate tag. I don't want to say it on here, but it had a sexual reference and the number 69. And this was in alignment with when my first trafficker had said there's insurance money, Epstein's still alive, and, well, he said Jeff, but he said Jeff's still alive and, like, we're invincible, and threatened me. In that timeline, I had seen random people from that period of time in my life, including Jeff, go through my job. And I no-call, no-showed at my job, and since then have not been working. And thankfully, I have a very committed boyfriend who is being supportive of my mission to spread awareness. So he is, like, helping me financially right now.
Pretty big
but
claims. So much about this story is it's incomprehensible. It doesn't make sense. I know we're missing key parts of it. The reaction has been strange. The updates have been strange. The rollout has been strange. The connections are strange. Everything about it is strange.
I didn't tell anybody when I had seen these people, and I mean...
So you're saying you've seen Epstein after he was allegedly suicided in public in a club in Florida?
Not in a club, no. He came through my job. He also said that Epstein was still alive, which I...
So I don't know about that, but a lot of people are talking, and it might make some sense. All right, Attorney General Pam Bondi appoints DEA administrator to be emergency D.C. police chief per NBC. President's en route to Alaska to meet with the Kremlin with Putin. President Trump I notice he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia, and that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled. Breaking, this according to Ms. Muckraker again, U.S. delegation traveling with President Trump to Anchorage today for the Trump-Putin summit, as per the White House pool. Secretary Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. DNI John Ratcliffe. Susie Wiles, White House Chief. I'd like all the big players are going. Monica Crowley, ambassador, involved in a diplomatic capability. Steve Witkoff, envoy to Ukraine and Middle East. Ross Worthington, speechwriter. Will Scharf, counselor to the president. Carolyn Levitt, press secretary. Staff, Robert Gabriel. Stephen Chung, director of communications. Dan Scavino, senior advisor. Nick Luna, advanced team. Bo Harrison, advanced team. James Blair, political director. Looks like they're bringing in the big dogs. Nancy Pelosi on meeting with Russia in Alaska. Ukraine, in fighting for their democracy, are fighting for ours as well. I don't know what Putin has on the president. They shouldn't be going to Alaska. Huh? That's from Defiant Elves. Amy Meck says there's a London warning that New York is next. Over 300 mosques across New York City. And one of the most infamous, led by Siraj Wahhaj, a radical imam named as the unindicted co-conspirator of the 93 World Trade Center bombing. What? In that video, there he is, demonstrating the power of just one mosque overflowing. In his many lectures, he continuously mocks Christians, reminding them again and again that their churches are closing every week where Islam multiplies. Now think about what this means for New York City, the largest and most influential city in the U.S. When political operatives like Zoran Mamdani gain more power, the demographic and political transformation is almost unstoppable. All right. Department of Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem says 1.6 million illegal aliens have now voluntarily left the United States. 28.5 million to go. I don't know what's going on. What's with these male dancers, the cheerleaders? If you've been to any college football game, or something similar, you know that there are male cheerleaders, but they're usually muscular people that are coordinated with balance, and they're throwing and holding people up, and man, oh man, are they getting a view and getting a feel. But you don't see a lot of the male cheerleaders dancing like the female cheerleaders, like in a very flamboyant manner. But now it's like the NFL is pushing this. I don't understand what's going on. First the Vikings, now the Patriots. Owen Schroyer is saying, seriously, what are we doing here? And they just said that they're going to continue putting divisive messages into the ends of the the end zone. They're going to paint it on. I say divisive messages, and you go, no, they're messages of unity. I think they're actually coded messages, divisively coded messages with inaccurate messaging. First female home plate umpire in Major League Baseball, Jen Powell, called the first pitch of the game a strike, and it wasn't even close, says John Root. No, it was not even close. Miss Muckraker says, I'm sick of women in men's places, and I'm sick of men in women's places. Just stop the inversion across the board. And then they're showing a pitching chart. Trying to understand. Red are strikes and green are balls. Is there a lot of missed strikes, or what are we looking at here? I'm not entirely certain. Average accuracy of an MLB umpire is about 94% based on umpire scorecards. Steady improvement from about 90% in 2015, with an error rate of 13% over the 08 to 18 period. Accuracy is higher in less challenging zones. First female ump claims her accuracy was 91%. That's less than the 94%. Oh, this Becky says it's done. My parents' divorce was finalized. They're no longer married after 52 years, still in love and together, but it was necessary because of Dad's medical bills. Now when Dad passes, Mom won't be saddled with $288,000 in debt. She's free and the house is in her name. Pretty sad that decades of marriage come to an end because of the American medical system. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but that's terrifying and awful. Democrat Senator Sheldon Winehouse voted to send $142 million to his wife's NGO, and she picked up $2.7 million. They steal our tax dollars to line their pockets via nonprofits, non-government organizations, is the claim. Wall Street Apes. Yep, here you go. This is David's post right here. All of us, really. All this information gets exposed and not a single person ever gets arrested. It's so exhausting. This lady, I saw this video, incredible stuff coming out of DC. This lady goes, I'm finally able to chill at a red light with my windows down, not worried about if one of them young N's is coming, feeling more safe than I ever felt. Trump just pulled off the most impressive domestic policy achievement in generations. Breaking, Governor Gavin Newsom, according to Ms. Muckraker, believes Trump will run for a third term as president after getting his Trump 2028 hat. Viktor Orban says Hungary stands with mothers. From October, working moms with 3 kids pay 0 income tax for life. From next year, moms with 2 kids join them. Europe has never seen a family policy this bold because without children, there is no future. Wouldn't that be interesting to put some encouragement for families in America? Scott Pressler says, yes, the rumors are true. As soon as our elections in New Jersey and Pennsylvania are over this November, I'm coming to California, Oregon, and Washington. We're going to get voter ID on the ballot in California and Washington, and we'll end automatic vote by mail in Oregon. There you go. President Trump has called for Elizabeth Warren to get drug tested. Pocahontas on the peyote, anyone? All right. And that concludes the remarks that I wanted to share with you today. David says, everything is always coming up. Stop already and arrest some people. I know. Hey, maybe tomorrow's the day. We'll see. One of these days, I got to drink that hopium and copium. All right, people. Thank you so much for watching today. Right there at the bottom of the screen is the place that anyone can sign up on our Patreon. It's at The New American Media. And we have a tip jar. Venmo and Cash App is my name at Brian Engelman. If you like the program, tell your friends, share the show, and consider donations. We're on PayPal. The email is fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. That's how you send a tip on PayPal. Thank you, everyone. Special thanks to Ford Fisher at the top of the show, giving us a report live on the ground in D.C. Primary source documentarian. Yeah, he tries to let his work do the talking for him as much as you can. Tries to let the work, he's there where things are occurring and he's filming it. There's a massive value to that. So follow Ford in all of the places as we mentioned earlier in the program. All right, people, go make some music. Go consume some music. Go sing some music. I've got a song I've been putting on replay, which is pretty good. What's it called? Don't Dream It's Over. Pretty good song. And I couldn't figure out what it was in. Was it in a television show or a movie? And it turns out it was. And I did finally figure out what it was. And I'm happy I figured out what it was. For sure. But yeah. Will not do a show tomorrow unless I do. I actually might be able to. Depending on the... Keep your eyes peeled. I might go super early tomorrow. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, maybe. Or I might not be able to do a show. So tomorrow is a wild card maybe. And I'll plan on definitely being back on Monday at noon for sure. So until then, I'm going to sign out. For everybody out there in the TNAM universe. Lake Leon says he's streaming the videos all weekend long. Thank you to everybody who is trying to watch. Let me do an update here. We were at 2394. 2417. People, we need 583 pennies. Each penny is an hour watched on our YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel for the New American Media. Hit subscribe, please. Yeah, 500. What did where'd the page go? 583 public watch hours, valid public watch hours. So make sure the volume's at least one click and just let it play some old videos for the New American Media and let them play. 5 hours here, 5 hours there, 5 hours a day, 10 hours here. Put them on 2 devices. I mean, I got to find 583 pennies. Each hour is an extra penny. It would be really cool to apply for that monetization again. So thank you, Lake Leon, for everything you've done. And that email, you said you're sending something to Carolyn Levitt. Appreciate that. Yep. Yeah, thank you all who support the program and who gather each day to dump the news out onto the table and try to make sense of someone else's garbage. We try our best around here. And we really could do a 5-hour show. And you know what? Maybe we will. Maybe we will one day. But for today, this is what I have. Prayers for peace up there in Alaska, fingers crossed. But yeah, wild card opportunity for the show tomorrow. I appreciate you all. I love you. And we will talk to you again soon. Take care.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.